Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to F3 Faith Family Focus. I'm Faith Suggs. We're excited to bring you our 7th episode of F3. We are live today with just me this Monday morning at 9 a.m. We are really happy that we got to cover the Making of a Champion series. We hope you all continue to share your needs and wants from us so we dive into some things that help you. My dad, I'm sure, is watching from home, probably my only view right now, but excited to see how I'm doing. We will be back to you on Wednesday at 9 a.m. But today we are heading in a new direction and something that is near and dear to my heart. My faith and our family's faith is very strong, as some of you have heard through our personal story. And it leaves a lot of choices and things in my journey in my life. So I'm very blessed to have the circle around me that has strengthened my faith daily, especially in the last 2 years, but most importantly during my young years in college. So one of those people, which I'm very excited to introduce today, is my former teammate, roommate, and friend, but also Duke Women's Basketball graduate, Fuqua School of Business successor, and new point guard for the University of Texas Longhorns, Kyra Lambert. I'm so excited because you guys will get to hear Kyra's story in a second. But right now, I'm going to show you some things. So obviously, Kyra and I came in the same year, right here, the four of us. And then we got closer. And there you go, see Kyra as she is her beautiful passion, her leadership. And obviously, we're very close, my sister, but also my roommate the last year. But I'm about to bring Kyra in right now. Hello, Miss Lambert.
What's up, Faith? How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to have you here. I'm sure everyone's excited to see you and hear your story. Today's going to be fun.
Yes, I'm
Quick
excited.
question. What are you up to? What have you been doing?
Man, I have been bugging the crap out of my parents. Being locked in the house is not fun, but trying to stay active, been working out, trying to get outside when I can, and keep a positive attitude about all this.
Right, you've made a big move. First, people don't know that you're only supposed to get 4 years in college basketball. Kyra somehow has finessed her 6th year. Kyra, do you want to tell us what this big move has been?
Yes. So I recently graduated from the Fuqua School of Business from Duke University. And then I had a 6 year of eligibility, and I was going back and forth. Should I use it? Should I not? Should I join faith in the adult world? We don't know. But I think once the season got cut short and all the Corona stuff happened, I prayed about it, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna use this 6 year and see where it'll lead me, see where I can go.
Right,
And turns out I can go down the street. So I'm excited to go to the University of Texas next year.
right. Um, Tell us a little about, I know all about your story. You're from San Antonio, Texas, Cibolo to be exact. You came in, McDonald's All American, very exciting. You came in, had a great freshman season. While we didn't make the tournament, you had a big role. Great leader, learned a lot of things. Sophomore year, great year, and then we got to the tournament and you tore your ACL. How about you tell us about that process? Here's a picture of us right here. There's Crystal, Kyra, and I.
Yeah, notice the two people that are standing over me. Two people that are so close and near and dear to my heart in my journey and my story. Um, my first thought when I was on the ground, like in that picture, literally was, no, this cannot happen right now.
Mhm.
Absolutely not. Like, Lord, your plan, like, this is not funny. Like, we got business to take care of. But I mean, I was devastated, to say the least. We were on the biggest stage that we'd ever been on. Yeah, that we've ever been on. As sophomores, after not making the tournament the past year, and then we were gonna go on to play a very good team in the second round, and
Yeah.
it kind of stopped everything, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, Even though we ended up winning that game, it felt like we lost,
Right.
and it's a feeling that I'll never forget, but it put a lot of stuff into perspective for me, and it showed how much my team really truly cared about me.
Mhm.
Um, So that was really tough, and just trying to stay positive, trying to try and get like what had happened to me 2 days before out of trying to get it out of the picture for the game that we were about to play in the second round was tough.
Very hard.
Um, yeah, so that whole situation was just very difficult, and then all of the rehab and trying to come back, and I don't know if you want me to get all the way through
You go ahead, Kai, because
it.
I don't think people understand your journey is like, wow, we have many friends who have gone through a lot of journeys like this.
Yeah.
As women basketball players, your journey, I think, is detailed and it should be told. So we will be spending our hour with Kyra Lambert only.
So after I tore the ACL,
Yeah.
then I rehabbed for 9-10 months. I toured in at the end of March. End of March, I rehabbed for 9-10 months. We get to that following January, and that following January, I'm like, okay. At this point, I redshirted the season. I knew I wasn't coming back next year, and I'm excited because now I get to be back in practice, be on scout team, and
Mm-hmm.
get back on the court with my teammates and help them for the tournament that next year. And somehow I managed to tear it again. I think I was going for a rebound or something and
You
managed to tear it again. Yeah, it was a rebound.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, at that point, I think I just walked off the court.
You did? Because
I
you
just
knew.
walked off the court.
You knew.
Yeah, like the feeling was all too familiar. So I walked off the court. I had to breathe, talk to the trainer. I was like, let's just like see where it goes, with the MRI and everything. And I'm trying to talk myself out of this, like this
Mm-hmm.
isn't happening again. Like been through way too much already. Get the MRI back, it's torn. I was like, all right, now like I'm really like, Lord, like what are you trying to tell me?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're telling me to sit my butt down somewhere
That's what they were
and
telling me.
really like just hone in on you, hone in on
Yeah.
what this season of my life is supposed to mean and what is supposed to happen in this season of my life. So, just to say, going into college, I had all of these plans, all these expectations, and none of it happened. Like none of it happened.
Yeah.
So moving forward, that was February. I got surgery February 2nd of that year. I go another 9 months. This is to me, this is the perfect situation because it lined up exactly with the beginning of what would be our senior season together. So I'm like, all right, November 1st, I'm gonna be good to go. I'm gonna be great.
Yeah.
So rehab for 9 months. I'm working my tail off because I'm like, look, I'm not missing one face last season, and I'm not missing another season of basketball. So rehab for 9 months. Our first game I believe was November 11th,
Yeah.
and my clearance date was November 1st. So I'm like, whoo, like I'm rolling now. Like I'm feeling good. I'm talking about the day that I went into the practice that I tore it the third time. I was in the best mood. I remember this day so clearly. I was in the best mood. I walk up to our practice facility. I went to the bathroom, walked out, tucking in my shirt. I'm like, I don't know who was walking next to me, but I was like, yo, today's about to be a great day. Like, I don't know. I'm a generally happy person, but today, that day, I was on cloud 9. Like, I was
Mm-hmm.
gonna practice my clearance test. Like, we're gonna go through all this stuff to like make sure that I was ready for that test the next week.
Yep.
So I'm going through this agility thing, and I plant into like I slide, I plant to go backpedal, and that familiar feeling happens again. And I'm like, I walked to the bench and sat down. I'm like,
And all this was happening
yo,
while you were on the other court.
yes. Like they're on the second court going. I don't know what y'all were doing. Y'all were scrimmaging or doing some type of like plays or
But
something.
we
Y'all
knew
going
you
back and
were
forth.
we knew you were prepping for your test, so we all were looking over a little bit to see how you were doing.
Yeah. So I'm like, so that feeling happens. I look and like my our strength and conditioning coach Ashley, she's like cheering me through the test. She's like, go, because I was about to like break the time. Like it was great, and I stop and I walk over. She was like, why'd you stop? And she looks in my face and she's like her like whole demeanor just changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sit down, I put my head down, and I'm just thinking like I've heard people go through one, I've heard people go through two, three, like I don't know. So long story short, well, long story long. I I get the MRI, and it was supposed to be a scope. It was supposed to be a scope because they didn't know exactly what had happened because it didn't show up on the MRI. So they were gonna go in to see what happened, and I was supposed to. It was just supposed to be a scope. I go in, they see what's up, they clean it, I walk out. Walk out.
Now, for people who don't know what a scope is, it's literally what it sounds like when you go into the knee and you're looking around, and it's disgusting, but it's very
Yeah,
common in basketball injuries, what people get done.
yeah. So instead of me going in, walking out, I wake up in the hospital with an ACL brace on. I'm feeling my leg, and I'm like, that's not supposed to be there.
Mm-mm.
You
Mm-mm.
know, but they went and saw it was torn, and they had to fix it.
Yeah.
So instead of me getting cleared on November 1st, that was my surgery date for my third ACL tear, and I had to just try and hold the perspective that I've had throughout the whole process, which is you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond, and you can control um, how you're impacting others. So throughout this whole process, I could have been totally to myself. I could have been wallowing in my sorrows. I could have been mad that none of my plans worked out.
Right.
I could have, tried to distance myself from the team, get away from basketball for a little bit. And, all those thoughts, I'm human. All those thoughts did go through my mind. I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, is this it? Like, is this how it's supposed to end? You know? Um, being reminded day after day of what you can't do, sitting in practices, going to games, being on the bench, like all that stuff. Um, but it's all a matter of perspective. So I chose to make the best of my situation, tried to do my best to embrace everything that happened and turn it not only for my good, but for God's good,
Yeah.
because every season has a purpose.
Right.
Every season has a purpose, and I wouldn't be who I am spiritually, who I am mentally, physically, like all of these things, if it wasn't for what I had gone through.
Exactly. And let's talk about my favorite season, this last one. And while it didn't go the way that you guys had hoped with COVID stepping in and canceling the NCAA tournament, which you guys were going to go to, which was a big turnaround
Mm,
from when we started the ACC,
yeah.
I want to show people your first game back. Let's talk about
Oh,
that, Carly and Bert. Let's talk about
yes,
that. Let's
yes.
talk.
I still get chills when I watch that clip. So first game in over 2.5 years. Been rehabbing like crazy, and I check into the game. But like everybody's going crazy because everybody, is just everybody knows my story, right? So I'm nervous. I'm like shaking, and I get in the game and I'm trying to, play defense,
Yeah.
basketball, you know. And at the end of that quarter, I get a steal, I take a dribble, and my first shot attempt after 2.5 years is a Hail Mary 3-quarter, and somehow it finds the bottom of the net.
Well,
I'm
see,
like, if
what people don't understand is you had this like, okay, wait, hold on. Let's pull it back up. I want people to see how you were darting all over the place. Let me see if I'll pull this. Just watch her activity before she got the pass. So not only after three surgeries, three, right?
Yeah.
Oh, three surgeries. Did you dive into a huddle knee first to get a ball, which a lot of people would say is terrifying for people who have gone through that. Then you did a three-quarter heave, but
Yeah.
still form to a basket.
Yeah.
Ira, special.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I think all of us who knew your process and knew your journey were so touched by it because we were like, whew, explanation point season. Explanation point season. Let's have a great one. So go ahead and talk to us a little bit about that senior year.
Yeah. So after that, just the last thing on that shot. My favorite thing about that shot isn't the fact that I made it, but it was the reaction
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like my team, the coaching staff. Like there's an angle where you can see like the coaching staff at the end of the bench and just their reaction. And it was tremendous and just a testament to God's faithfulness throughout my whole
Yeah.
process. But going through the season, this season was a challenge. It was a challenge to say the least. We did not we did not start how we think we were gonna start.
No.
It was very rocky, but um, we stayed committed to each other. We stayed committed to each other, and I think it was kind of towards the beginning, middle of conference season is when we really started rolling and really started turning things around. But that was just us, trusting each other and going all in. I think that at the beginning of the season, we kind of had this expectation that we were supposed to win because we had a lot of um,
Returning.
experience in leadership. Yeah, coming back, and people who had played on big stages before, and really produced before, and all this other stuff. But we were kind of just dipping our toe in, and we were kind of lukewarm. Um, but it wasn't until it was the Clemson game. I'm gonna just pin. It was the Clemson game, and we lost to Clemson. Which, if you know basketball, you're not supposed to lose to Clemson.
Not
No
supposed to
offense,
do that.
especially not at Duke. But that game was the catalyst for the rest of our season. And after that game, we took off.
Yeah.
We took off, and we were red hot. It's disappointing that the season got cut short because me and everybody else were super excited to have turned the season around like we did and go to the tournament and do some damage. But everything happened for a reason.
You're right. It is. And I think that learning your story, and I gravitate towards people with stories with little bits and chapters of adversity because it's relatable. One thing that when people ask me is, how do you navigate your adversity? How do you navigate the constant walls in your little path? And one thing that I've come to learn as an adult, now that I'm like out in the world, I'm very independent and I'm working, and you're on your own, I'm alone in a big city, is I have to constantly check myself as, who am I? Because when you're discouraged and you're exhausted and you're stressed, which is what we spent 4 years, 5 years in college doing, you're like, who am I? Once again, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a leader, a mentor, a friend. I'm all of these things to people. And so while world is trying to take me down and constantly pull me down, I'm like, wait a second, I have a relationship with God. I have a one-on-one me and him relationship. Hi, Mom.
Ma, say this hi.
But yeah, and I think that because we have our relationship that's personal, one sided, me and him, it's easy for me to, when I face these situations, face these battles, that I can be like, hold on, take a second. While it feels like this is all the weight of the world on me, I can do this. And that was one thing I had to really learn, because it's different when you're going through all this, when you're around teammates, when you're around friends, but when you're removed from that area of comfortability and you're forced to kind of just like be on your own, that's when you're just like, oh my God, like this is something different. Like you didn't tell us about this. Like you didn't tell us about coming home alone, and you're just like, "God, today was really long. I want to do that day tomorrow."
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think you can touch on this a little bit with adversity. It's just like, how important is that relationship with God when you have it one on one? Those many conversations you have, how are those so important?
Yeah. Um, I think if anything, adversity pushes you closer to God more than anything.
Yep.
Your conversations, like when you're not, like when you're just going through life and not much is happening, like everything is normal, everything is
Mm-hmm.
fine. It's easy to fall into this, okay, checkbox. I
Right.
prayed today. Checkbox. I read my Bible today. Kind of like that checkbox mentality. But when you're going through something, it is so personal.
Yeah.
Like my conversations with God, like I have had just like bawling tear conversations. I've had like yelling, like just like all of the emotions that you could possibly, imagine or fathom in my conversations with God.
Yeah.
And they're very specific. And I'm not like Father God, we come to you to I'm like, yo, Lord, like what's up? Like straight up. And just being raw and authentic. But
Yeah.
those conversations are extremely important. Those conversations are extremely important. Um,
No, and I'm glad you're saying that because, well, especially in young adults, let's talk about that. Let's talk about college.
yeah.
Let's talk about how you're constantly put in a position where you feel like it's a never ending process of more work. It's a never ending process of a schedule. And when you're going through this schedule, you're just like, when is it ever going to end? When is my break? You know what I mean? For a lot of college
Mm-hmm.
students and a lot of young adults, it's easy to separate your relationship with God and pull away because you're so tired in comparison. I'm sorry, I'm preaching apparently. But also, how do you get closer instead of pull away, especially when we were at a school so liberal and so easy to step away from your faith?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Intentionality, I think, is the biggest thing for me, and surrounding yourself with people who are going to hold you accountable and help you.
Right,
I think, going to a college, especially a very liberal university, the different crowds that you experience are, always pulling you in some type of direction, whether it's towards God, away from God, keeping you steady. Like,
right.
you have those different relationships, but being intentional about your relationship with God and then also being intentional about who you're surrounding yourself with is so important. Like, I found what I like to call a faith family. Um, like at Duke, and that's like you, Jada, Mish, all these people, and then I also found a church home, which is important for me. And you don't have to always go to church. I think people get that confused, like, oh, like I don't want to have to like get up on Sundays and like there are so many different resources that you can use. Like you don't have to always be in church. I personally like to go to church because I grew up in the church,
Yep.
but that's not like an absolute like you have to do X, Y, and Z to be a Christian. Like no.
And I think that's important. You just said something that's so key, which is hard for a lot of people who maybe weren't raised around a faith or weren't raised within a church, like the two of us.
Mhm.
So when they
Mhm.
look at religion, when they look at Christianity, they're looking at it from an outside point of view where they're almost too scared to jump in because they think
Yeah.
they can never sin. They can never not go to church. They can never
Mhm.
not do their readings. So
Yes.
that type of stuff is very discouraging to a
Yes.
lot of people.
Mhm.
And it's easy, and I've had this conversation many times. While people are spiritual, they know
Mhm.
that God is out there. There's something that stops them from taking that extra
Mhm.
step towards that direction. And you touched on
Yes.
your faith family. And
Yeah.
that's what I'll dive into is you are the queen of bringing people to faith. And you don't even know it because you do it without trying. And it's not like you're like, come on, come on. It's more like you
Mhm.
live your life the way you
Mhm.
live it, and it's contagious.
Mhm.
And people gravitate towards it. People want to learn more. What is one thing that you've learned because you've done a very good job with it, especially the last 4 years? of bringing people with you on the journey?
Oh, that's a great question. This is funny that you asked that because I was just listening to a podcast that covered this, and the guy said something very that just stood out to me. He said that evangelism, or telling people about faith and stuff, is not lip service. Is more effective if you just live.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not the type of person to beg somebody to come to church, like you said. Like, I'm not the type of person that is shoving scripture down your throat.
Right.
No. Like, I think people leave out the room to be human when they do things like that. Like, a lot of people don't go to church or don't want to be Christians because of Christians,
Mm-hmm.
and because of people who profess to be, like righteous and all this other stuff. And it's like Jesus came, one, to serve, and two, he like associated with all of the people that a lot of people that profess to be Christians are avoiding or
Right.
persecuting, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So, like, for me, like, I always remind myself and I tell myself it's not my job to judge you. It's not my job to, try and um I don't know, like, force you to be,
So,
or like believe what I believe. You know what I mean? So I just, like you said, I just try and live my life and know that whatever I do is a reflection of him.
right.
So,
How would you say within when you were at a university
hmm
for the first year? And I remember you and Crystal, shout out Crystal Prim, I know she's watching,
ACT.
took classes that were scientifically based.
Bio 102.
When your faith logistically was challenged because people at liberal universities love to force fact, well, fact
Hmm.
what they. How did you react at first? That's one. Then
Okay.
what was your thought process? Two, and how
hmm
did you finish? Three.
Okay. One, my reaction. So they handed us this book and said, "This is the textbook for the class." It was a book on evolution. I was like, "I'm not reading it." Next topic. like like eventually ended up reading the book. Yes, I did read the book, guys. But I think just staying grounded and constantly, again, going back to that intentionality, constantly taking the time and the steps to ground myself in what I believe and what I know God says about me.
Yeah.
um, that was my reaction. That was step two. And then what I eventually did, you got to do what you got to do to pass the class. You know what I mean? So I passed the class, and then I moved on. But I never lost sight of
Exactly.
what I believe.
hmm I think that because I've been through, I people who know me know that I experimented with 7 billion different areas of study at Duke.
Yeah.
And they all constantly, because I went into engulf myself in things that I had no idea what I was talking about. So I went into women's studies, I went into Christian
Mm,
sexuality, I dove into many different
yeah.
areas of learning. Um,
hmm
and one thing that I learned was that the only way you can get through life is if you are truly comfortable with your relationship.
hmm
Like, if you're not comfortable with who you are, where you are in that part of your life,
hmm
there's no way that you can go because on a daily, we are either tempted or we're
hmm
constantly told that the other is correct or the other, and there's a constant
Yeah.
rebuttal. That's normal, that's life.
Yeah.
America.
hmm
But Crystal Prim joined us and says many different classes in understatement. I took so many classes people don't understand. I was all over the campus. But one thing that helped me through this process, because Duke was, for me, my religious path through college was so interesting. And we'll get to that in a second because we're going to talk about how our baptism. Um, but one thing my parents taught us, and was like the saying in our house, was let go and let God.
mm
And it always hit me whenever there's something that it could be in the game, and I'll just be like, let go, let go. Or you're in class and there's kids who come from different areas, demographics, all over talking about how everything you believe in, everything you live for, your morals, everything. Whoever Faith and Kyra is wrong, and they're so
Mhm.
passionate about this. That is a moment where you have to be like, let go and let God. I believe in what I
Mhm.
believe in. I live my way for what I believe in,
Mhm.
and that's it. And if you don't have that little sentence, that little being
Yeah.
across your heart, there's no possible way that you can be
Yeah.
comfortable enough to live and not be hurt. Like
Yeah.
that happens every day. And I think that
Mhm.
I'm glad that we touched on that because we did go to a great university, great institution, that we take this degree everywhere we can in life. But
Everywhere.
that also was a battle for us because
Yeah.
you have to find your pockets of those who can fit in your circle and fit in your morals and understand and support you. And I
Yeah.
think that that part I want to get on is so important is your support circle, your circle. You talk about this all the time. You create your little
Yeah.
family. For
Yeah.
us, I think that we created this faith family even more towards my last year.
Mhm.
One, because me and you lived together.
Mhm.
Um, two, because we lived with two other great women, but also
Yeah.
we were starting to get older and like we had more independence and we had more freedom
Mhm.
to like, no, I think that's a great idea. Or like, let's go
Mhm.
start this. Or, and it was kind of that
Mhm.
type of thing, which when you
Yeah.
first come in, you're kind of like, everything's presented to you. And now you're the one
Yeah.
presenting it all.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
I think that I want to talk to people about that year, that senior year. So for me, we when I first came in, I you would go to church. You were constantly trying to find your home.
Mhm.
And I think that you found it when you find a junior, senior year.
Yeah, like junior year paper.
And
Yeah.
then you invited us all out, and I loved it because it was young and it was
Yeah.
who were going through because it's hard sometimes when you're searching for a church. People are like think it's you can just go to church. You cannot just go to any church and go
Mm-mm.
to what everybody says because when I moved to New York, I sent you a picture of the one church I went to. I went to Brooklyn Tabernacle, which is a huge famous church, right? Their choir is famous. And I sent you a picture when there's like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people in there. It was huge. And I loved it at first because the choir was great. And that's often a facade because you're like, oh wow, this is great. Like they got
Yeah.
resources, they got like this music is great. I'm gonna go home and look it up on iTunes. And then I'm hearing the message, and I'm like, God, like this is for an older crowd. Like this is for people who
Mhm.
are married, this is for people who have kids. And for me, I'm like, I have neither. Thank God. So
Mhm.
let me let me go. And so I found a younger church, and I found one that me and you had. And what was the name of the church we went to in Durham?
Life Church.
Life Church.
Yeah.
And that's special to us because we would go, and then I think we brought me, Mila, sometimes Jade, Jada,
Yeah. Yeah.
Niche,
Chen would come sometimes.
Nisha.
Nisha and other Jada would come. Yeah.
And it was fun because we had our own little Duke community that would get up on Sundays and go. And
Mhm.
you would drive like four people and be there on time. And I would come in around 5 minutes later because, it's not something
Yeah.
I'm proud of. You're supposed to get church early, but Sunday mornings are rough for us. This is like a 9:30 service. But that was so special to me. I know it's special to you because one, you didn't even realize what you were doing, Kai. Maybe you did, but the way you lived your life, and I said this earlier, is truly gravitating and contagious to other people. Like we enjoyed that because not only was it a reset, but it was a constant reminder on how to live your life and how to kind of be you and your one-on-one with God. And like, how about you talk us through how you reflected on that? Because I don't know if you noticed it. Did you?
Um, I don't know. That's tough because it was just like kind of like in the moment. Like I knew what I was getting from the church and being there like with my faith community, and I just wanted other people to experience it. Honestly, I knew like some people. Okay, how about let's talk about this in college being like openly. being yourself, right, and expressing your faith is not always popular. It's not always popular. And I just wanted to give people the opportunity, not force them, but give them the opportunity to experience what I had experienced. Like I felt like my soul was getting fed at Life Church. Shout out Pastor Mark.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like my soul was getting fed there. Like you said, it's a young church. Like Pastor Mark is like he speaks our language.
Yep.
Um, so I thought that, like the team and some people that I had met would enjoy it. And I mean, if they didn't have a ride, I wasn't gonna let that stop them from, getting their soul fed.
Right.
Because I didn't always want to go and pick people up.
I know.
Like, ugh,
I know.
ugh.
You're the only one that did that. I did not do that. No. It was what people don't know is it was the complete opposite direction, and then you had to drive back that way.
Yeah.
I mean, the church is one of those churches that can move and have different areas to hold church. And I remember, I think it was the first time you brought us there. It was in I couldn't find it. It was like on a strip, like a strip
Mhm.
of stores. And I
Yeah.
remember we covered the topic of green pastures.
Mm.
And do you remember that sermon? I know you
I
probably
think so.
we touched on Psalm 23 and we
Uh
dove
huh.
and this is the first time I've had really seen somebody do it this way. We dove in through Psalm 23. We went word for word for word for word, and he kind of like defined what each line was to us. And when he got to
Mhm.
green pastures, like maybe you can take it away because you like can say this.
Yeah. So Psalms 23 is like, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So he went through that. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. So he was talking about um basically like he's got it.
Yep.
Like God's got you. And it's like he makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters.
Yep.
And just that peace and knowing that like you're like right there. You know what I mean? Like you're in the palm of his hand, and no matter what you come across in life, no matter what adversity that you face, um because you will face adversity. That's when, like, the Bible says, when adversity comes, because
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna happen. Everybody goes through something.
Happens every day.
um every single day. So when that does happen, that you have somebody that's always on your side, and the victory is already written with your name on it.
Exactly. And I think that one thing he covered for those of you who are going to take this and study it a little bit when we get offline, green pastures, but when we study sheep, okay, sheep
Mm.
willingly follow the sheep herder. I don't know who herds sheep.
The shepherds.
Thank you. We don't have sheep in Illinois, but they follow willingly.
Hmm.
Like, and that's the definition of faith is to trust something and trust the unknown. Okay.
Mm.
And and when you have your strong faith, when we talk adversity, we talk because people understand adversity. We all have large adversities. Okay.
Hmm.
Both you and I have been through many, but each day there's a small adversity, a small trial, a test
Yep.
that causes you to have to really think like, oh, I got to
Hmm.
do this today. But it's almost like these small adversities are
Hmm.
small lessons. They're all small tests of faith. And what helps me in these moments is like, okay, I'm being tested. He's testing my faith as well. It's not fair. And then you see I'm having in my head I'm having a conversation like this is ridiculous, but it's fine.
Yeah.
We'll get through it.
Yeah.
I know that this is on my journey. If people are gonna look at my map at the end of my life, they're gonna be like, oh, on May 4th, this happened to Faith. Faith jumped over it or went through
Hmm.
it. And I think that knowing that I have that relationship and I have that trust in my faith and trust in the unknown, if some people want to put it that way, that it's
Yeah.
almost easier to just be like, throw it that way because it's like, this isn't even my battle.
Hmm.
This isn't even my battle. And when I'm too exhausted to go through the battle, he's going to carry me through the battle. So that's
Absolutely.
so relieving when you have that mindset towards something. So sorry,
Agreed.
I got on a tangent, but we love talking. But yeah, so it was important for us. You brought us to church, and I remember Psalm 23. You broke it down for us, which was easy. One, because we were Duke students and we needed to break stuff down and to give us the full term.
Yes, very.
But also, it
Yeah,
was like we all took something away from that day,
yeah.
and we all continued to come with you. Or I remember some days you would be like, going to church, and I'd be like, I'd be like, "Hey," like we finally had an off day, or like it was the
Yeah,
one day we had a bye week, we didn't have to play that Sunday.
yeah.
And I would like drag for a second, then I was like, all right, we're going to church. And it was like pop up because Kyra's going to church. That means four other people are going to church. That means Faith needs to go to church. And then Faith at church, and she's like, oh, I'm glad I went to church today. Like, I needed church today. It was that kind of mindset. And it was happy. It was good because I had people who were contagious, who had that contagious like energy to draw me towards it and continue to keep me in line in a way, to not kind of move away, but instead stay committed and stay in this process. And so, towards the end of that year, we did something great. As you can see, we all were baptized in a lake,
Oh, in a lake.
Jordan.
Yes.
And I think that that's a good topic because I'm a coach now. I had a player come to me and talk to me about becoming baptized. And what's the process of baptism? How do I go about doing it? But also, how do I know when I'm ready?
Mm.
And I had to explain my process, and you can explain because you've been baptized before. Prior,
Mm-hmm.
to this is your grown-up baptism, where you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so I made the decision where I had always thought about it and had always like it had been on my mind whenever we'd be in church, they'd be like, we're holding baptisms. If anybody would like to start coming to class, and I'd be like, oh, that really sounds like a good idea. Like, but I was like, I'm not ready. Or no, I don't want to do it. And I think that the moment when my senior year, when I had gone through something exhausting, stressful. You were there for all of it,
Yeah.
and I had came out on the other side, and I was like in kind of a new growing faith, finding out who I was and adding faith back to my life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so when they talked about baptisms, we got baptized on Easter also, so
Mm-hmm.
perfect timing. I remember I was in my head, I was thinking, I turned to Jada and I said, I think I want to be baptized. Jada was like, I think I want to be baptized too. And then Mila was like, yeah, I think I want to be baptized. And Australian, if you will know.
Yeah.
And so, and I remember we came to you and you were like, yeah, that's the idea. What was your process of thinking as someone who has been baptized but has wanted to start new again? What
Yeah.
was your process? What was your thinking?
Um, I knew that. So when you're young, right,
Mhm.
a lot of building your foundation and building your faith is it comes from your parents,
Mhm.
right? So it's your parents, like taking you to church or saying like, "Get up, we're going," you know. So a lot of that it wasn't like my own thinking, and I had finally come to a place where like you said, like we're now making choices for ourselves. I had come to that point, and it's been something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Finding that family at Life Church really helped me in that decision, and I had that relationship with Pastor Mark to where I was like, yeah, I want him to do it. But also, like you said, part of me didn't feel completely ready either.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how, like, you don't have to be perfect, to get baptized. You can start wherever you are.
Right.
There's not a bunch of boxes that you have to check, like, oh, I need to, like pray every day, or I need to speak in tongues, or like something like that. Like,
No,
like
no, this
it's
is true thoughts. Yes, you're saying
yeah.
what everybody thinks.
So I was like we don't have to be ready to do this, but it's the best decision that we'll ever make.
Mm-hmm.
And eternity is a long time.
It's a very long
It's a
time.
long time. But I was just like, I don't think you know how much or how many times I prayed for our team, and I prayed for the people around me, and not like, Lord, like, help them to see it my way. Like, no, 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 no. Like, you told me to be here and plant the seed, and you're gonna water it.
Yeah.
That's what he said. I'm just here to drop the seed. And he watered it and watered it and watered it. And the weight of emotion that I felt that day when we were like in that picture. Can you show the picture again?
I
In
don't.
that picture, like I was bawling that day, crying, just tears of joy.
But people need to see. Okay, we went to school in North Carolina. Okay, when Kyra and Faith showed up at Duke, neither of us wanted to jump in any lakes. Neither
None.
of us wanted to go on any nature jump adventures. Nothing. We were good.
Mm-mm.
We came
No.
for 4 years. Our, so this process, and this is what I don't know if you can talk about, but when we walked up on the beach, we were baptized North Carolina style, so in a lake that was green. Um, like there were things moving in the water, and I remember I was just thinking like, what was I thinking? And so I think you went first or second,
I went. I was second.
and I
I
went
think I
after.
went second. Yeah.
And I remember walking in the water, and it was ice cold, and then the moment you're in the water, I didn't feel any cold. Like it was like all of a sudden, like I was so overwhelmed with emotion, so overwhelmed, like just
Yeah.
had tears running down my face. I couldn't even like talk. And then I went under and it came up, and it was just like still nothing. It was just like light. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
how to explain it. It just was like this overwhelming warmth feeling through the
Yeah.
whole process. Then we got to the beach. I was freezing cold, but in that moment,
Yeah.
I remember you and I just was like, ugh, like the water, like I it was special, and I'm glad that you were able to touch on this as well because you can kind of tell the story of Jade. Um,
Yes. Wow. Yes. Wow. Goosebumps. So we're on the beach. We had I think everybody had gone.
everybody,
Everybody had gone. And Pastor Mark is saying, if there's anyone else that, wants to get baptized, like you can like come do it, like seize the opportunity.
come on,
And for a while, like nobody responded. And he just kept talking, and he was like tomorrow's not promised, and you don't have to be in a certain spot to make this decision, but it will be the best decision of your life. And out of nowhere, because Jade had come to support, Jade's one of our teammates. She had come to support and, just be there for us in a monumental time in our life. And out of nowhere, she runs to the front.
everybody needs to picture this. Okay, it's Easter Sunday, so she's wearing her Easter best, like dress, hair done, like
Mhm.
done, and starts running like towards the front, and I'm just like, oh shoot.
Oh man, but she runs and is like, I'm ready. And she takes she takes off her sandals, and is like puts her hair up, and like she had just got her hair done, y'all. Like she just got her hair done.
Inches were added, like she spent like maybe a couple hundred on her hair. So I just want everyone to
Yeah,
understand the word of
yeah,
God drew this woman to the water.
yes. And her and then I think another college aged girl went to the front, and they both got baptized that day. And oh man, it was great. It was great.
Was. It was. But yeah, and that I just wanted to share it because if people are, I think the one thing I want to say, and when we close the little baptism part of this conversation, just because you get baptized doesn't mean you'll never sin again.
Say it again. Say.
Just because you're baptized doesn't mean you won't sin again. Period. That was the thing that was hard for me. And when I heard that and I learned that, I was like, just because I'm starting new, just because I'm renewing myself doesn't mean that I'm going to be perfect. I don't even want to be perfect anymore. I want to just live the way God will be proud of me. I want to live the way He will live if He walked on earth, the
Mm-hmm.
best I can. So
Yeah.
for me, when I heard that and learned that, and I've been able to explain that to people, that for me, seeing their eyes like they're like, oh, so just because,
Mhm.
no, yeah, I'm far from perfect. I'm far from perfect.
Yeah.
But just because you get baptized does not mean you'll sin again. Like,
That like I think that people that is I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like that in itself because I thought about that too. I was like, okay, now that I'm baptized, I
mm-hmm.
need to be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I need to stand up straighter, like have better posture, like But if anything, life gets harder for me. Like I felt like more things coming at me, but I knew that I had that foundation to combat everything that was coming my way. So I was like, I'm glad you touched on that because that's a misconception. Like you don't have to be perfect, once you make that faith decision to get baptized. But yeah, dang, that was good faith. That was
Thanks,
good.
thanks, buddy. I know that someone took it. If anybody has questions, comments, please send them over. I can see them. Kyra can see them. I'm sure, probably, maybe.
I
Um,
think so.
but one thing I wanted to get to today, but we have like 9 minutes, so I think I might bring you back eventually for a round table, which would be fun, like 4 or 5 of us. Grace, and you touched on it a little bit earlier. You said something and you didn't even notice, but it referred, who are you to judge? That's not your place as a Christian. I feel like grace is
Yeah.
so important in who we are as followers of Christ. Like, to be, in my whole life growing up, I heard the word graceful, grace. I'm thinking it's the way you present yourself, how you move. But the more I got closer to my faith and took it in my own hands to really study and learn the words,
Yeah.
grace is one of my favorite things in the world to read on. Like, it's so important to me in my own personal path to ownership of my faith. But when I learned the definition, it kind of changed my perspective on how I acted as well. And I think for a lot of people, they don't understand the definition. And I have it right here, unless you want to Kyra word it.
I'm gonna let you read the definition and then I'll give you, yeah.
So, grace is the love of God shown to the unlovely, the peace of
Mm,
God given to the restless, and the unmerited favor of God. The love and mercy given to us by God because God desires us to have it, not necessarily because of anything we have done to earn it.
mm.
And one
Amen.
lesson I read was grace is getting what you don't deserve and not getting what you do deserve.
Yes. Yeah.
For
Yep.
me, we're going to come back to grace. Don't worry, people, we'll cover it. But
Yeah.
you can go ahead, Kai. Just,
Yeah. No, that last part was what I was gonna say. Like grace, so grace and mercy are often used together. So like grace, like you said, is God giving you what you don't deserve, and mercy is God withholding something that you do deserve. Um, mm, Grace and mercy, especially for me in quarantine, grace and mercy have been abundant,
you are
abundant.
you're preparing for a new season. Okay, you're preparing
Hmm.
for a new Kyra, older Kyra, leader Kyra. Like, this is a whole new Kyra that's building up. Okay, this little robot we're building, right? And I think that it's so great though that you're in this process. You're kind of in solitude because you're reflecting so much on, okay, I've had all these taken from me. Okay,
Hmm.
I've gone through all these adversities. And I think that because you have those mindsets, you have the ability to have this personality and this mindset that it's like, but I get to start this. I
Hmm.
get to get my 6th year. Bless your
Hmm.
heart. But I think it's so great that you get to kind of, and do you see a little bit of this, like this mindset change, this feeling change? Like, do you see it in your
Yeah,
personality?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, Even this past year, I feel like an elder statesman. Like I feel like an elder statesman,
Oh, lady.
but because of yeah, but because like mentally because of what I've been through. So I've learned so much And you can touch on this too, because when you go through a lot, it forces you to grow fast and deeper. So the way that I think about things, the way that I process things, I think is different than what like we're gonna be young this year. A lot of prayer, a lot of conversations with God, but we're gonna be young this year. So what I've been through is gonna help me and allow me to be a better leader with this group.
Right, right. Well, Kyra, you will be back with us. I'm definitely gonna do a roundtable and touch on my board to talk about you a little bit. I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I
you
want
for
to thank,
having me.
of course, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Got to meet my beautiful Kyra Lambert on this beautiful Monday morning. We will be back to you on Wednesday at F3 Faith Family Focus, and my father will be coming back. I know you guys missed him. And again, this is Faith Family Focus. Our goal is to use our faith as a vehicle to help others strengthen the family core. So thank you guys. Everyone have a great day.